The coffee shop buzzed with the usual rhythm of clinking mugs, soft chatter, and the hiss of steaming milk. It was a Tuesday morning, the kind of morning that blended into every other weekday. Jacob, a 34-year-old high school teacher, sat by the window, his laptop open but barely touched. He loved coming here before work, enjoying the quiet before the storm of teenagers and lesson plans. That's when he noticed her. She walked in quietly, almost invisible. A girl, no older than 16 or 17, with long dark hair tucked into a worn hoodie. She moved carefully, like someone who didn't want to draw attention. Her order was small, a black coffee, nothing else. She sat at the farthest corner, clutching the cup as if it were the only thing keeping her together. Jacob didn't think much of it at first. Teenagers came and went all the time. But something about her, something he couldn't name, made him glance her way again. She wasn't scrolling on her phone like most teens. She wasn't chatting with friends. She just stared into her coffee, her eyes glassy, her face blank. And then he saw it. When she pulled her sleeve up slightly to sip, Jacob caught a glimpse of faint red marks on her wrist. Not fresh, but there. His stomach tightened. He looked away quickly, trying not to intrude. But the image stuck in his mind, and suddenly, the girl's silence felt louder than the entire cafe. Jacob told himself not to interfere. She might just be tired. Maybe it was nothing. He was a teacher, not her guardian. Yet, something gnawed at him, a quiet voice that wouldn't let go. Check in. Just check in. He packed up his laptop and, after a hesitant pause, walked toward her. Mind if I sit here? He asked gently, pointing to the chair across from her. The girl looked startled, like she'd been pulled from somewhere far away. She gave a small shrug. Sure. Up close, Jacob noticed how pale she was, the heavy shadows under her eyes, the way her hands trembled slightly as she held the mug. I'm Jacob, he offered. I teach over at Ridgeway High. You? She hesitated. Lena. There was silence. Not the comfortable kind, but heavy, guarded silence. Jacob smiled softly. I used to come here every morning when I was your age too. Though I usually went for hot chocolate instead of coffee. Coffee felt too grown up. For the first time, a flicker of a smile appeared on her lips, faint and fleeting. Hot chocolate's better, she murmured. It wasn't much, but it was a crack in the wall she'd built around herself. Over the next few minutes, Jacob kept the conversation light. Music, books, the weather, anything safe. Slowly, Lena's shoulders eased. But just as Jacob thought she might be okay, he noticed something else. She kept checking her phone screen, not for messages, but for the time. Each glance was quick, almost anxious. You late for school? Jacob asked gently. She froze, then shook her head. I'm not going today. Something in her voice, flat, resigned, made his heart ache. Jacob leaned forward, lowering his voice. Lena, forgive me if I'm crossing a line. But, you look like you're carrying a lot right now. And sometimes, carrying it alone can be too heavy. Her eyes welled up instantly. She looked away, pressing her sleeve over her wrist. And Jacob realized the truth, she wasn't okay. Lena didn't spill everything at once. At first, it was fragments, her parents' endless fights, the pressure at school, the bullying that followed her like a shadow. She spoke about how she hid in plain sight, pretending to be fine, while inside she was breaking. Everyone thinks I'm strong, she whispered. Even my mom says, you'll be fine, you're tough. But I'm not. I feel like I'm screaming, but no one hears me. Jacob's chest tightened. He'd seen students smile in class while hiding storms inside. He knew how dangerous silent pain could be. You don't have to be strong all the time, he said softly. Sometimes the bravest thing is saying, I'm not okay. And that's enough. Lena looked at him with wide, tear-filled eyes, as if no one had ever told her that before. What happened next wasn't dramatic. Jacob didn't have all the answers, and Lena didn't magically heal in one conversation. But that morning became a turning point. Jacob gave her the number of a school counselor he trusted. He promised to check in, not as a teacher, not as someone who wanted to fix her, but simply as someone who cared. Before leaving, he said one last thing. Lena, the pain you feel right now, it doesn't mean your story is over. Sometimes, the people who hurt the most are the ones who end up shining the brightest. Please hold on. You matter more than you know. Her tears slipped down her cheeks, but this time, she didn't look away. She nodded, gripping his words like a lifeline. Days turned into weeks. Jacob saw Lena again, sometimes in the cafe, sometimes at school. She wasn't suddenly cheerful, but there was a shift. Small, but real. She started joining art club again, started sitting with a girl from her math class, started answering when people asked if she was okay. One afternoon, Lena slipped Jacob a folded piece of paper. For you, she said quietly before walking off. Inside was a drawing. A girl standing in the rain, holding an umbrella. Above her were dark clouds, but from the umbrella, light shone down, protecting her. At the bottom, she'd written, "Thanks for noticing." Jacob sat with the drawing for a long time, tears stinging his eyes. Months later, Lena stood on a small stage at a school assembly, reading a poem she had written. Her voice trembled, but it carried strength. She spoke of shadows, of silence, of invisible battles, and of the moment someone simply saw her. In the crowd, Jacob watched with quiet pride. No one knew it was him she spoke of. He didn't need them to. What mattered was Lena finding her voice again. The truth is, kindness rarely looks like grand gestures. Sometimes, it's just noticing. Just asking. Just sitting down across from someone and saying, "You don't have to go through this alone." Jacob thought Lena was okay, until he noticed her silent pain. And because he chose to see her, really see her, her story began to change. Moral of the story. Everyone you meet is fighting battles you can't see. Some wear their scars on the outside, but many carry them silently inside. One small act of compassion, one moment of listening, one gentle word, can be the light someone desperately needs. So look closer. Be kind. Be present. You might just save a life without even knowing it.